Roll call, Sylvia.
Mayor Mays.
Here.
Council President Rosner.
Here.
Councilor Garland.
Here.
Councilor Rouse.
Here.
Councilor Scott.
Here.
And Councilor Young is absent.
Thank you, Sylvia. Approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
With a second discussion on the motion to approve agenda as presented. No discussion, all in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Consent agenda this evening, we have 5 items for council's consideration. Item A is approval of the March 15th, 2022 City Council meeting minutes. Item B is approval of the March 28th, 2022 City Council meeting minutes. Item C is resolution 2022-018, authorizing an amendment to the existing Angelo Planning Group contract for the Sherwood West Relook project. Item D is resolution 2022-019, appointing Greg Lampros to the Sherwood Planning Commission. And item E is resolution 2022-020, appointing Teresa Montalvo, I apologize, Teresa, to the Sherwood Planning Commission.
Move consent.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of approving the 5 items of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, council. Next on our agenda is citizen comments. Sylvia, do we have anyone signed up for citizen
I
comments?
do not, Mayor.
Anyone in the audience want to give citizen comments? I haven't signed up. Anyone calling in wanting to give citizen comments? New world, we have people can call in for citizen comments. Brad? Anyone? None that I know of?
Nope.
Thank you, Brad. Okay, so we move on to the meat of the meeting, which is presentations. And first, I want to swear in our new city councilor. Taylor, please come forward. Judge Jack, our municipal court judge, Judge Jack's been our judge for a few days.
A while. Yeah.
He was judge before I first got involved 20 years ago.
We're getting old.
Are
Are you ready?
I am.
Raise your right hand for me, please. I, Taylor Giles,
I, Taylor Giles,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States and the state of Oregon,
and the laws of the United States and the state of Oregon,
and the laws of the city of Sherwood,
and the laws of the city of Sherwood,
and will faithfully, honestly, and impartially,
and will faithfully, honestly, and
that
impartially
was the hard part, discharge the responsibilities bestowed upon me
discharge the responsibilities bestowed upon me
as a city councilor of the city of Sherwood.
as a city councilor of the city of Sherwood.
Congratulations.
Taylor, come around and join us on the dais. And Sylvia's either gonna probably throw your name tag all of a sudden up there. Wow.
The official presentation of the placard.
Awesome. Counselor, welcome. Thank you for your willingness to serve, and we appointed you last week, and you're filling out the balance of the term right until the end of the year. You want to introduce anyone by chance?
Sure. I know that I wouldn't be here without him. So first off, my wife, Sarah, is here in the audience. We've been members of Sherwood for almost 19 years now, almost 18. And she's a track coach at the middle school, so a lot of kids know her. Works in the high school. I also have my son, Oscar, who is here, senior in Sherwood High School, and Alice, my daughter, whose birthday is today. You don't want to embarrass her, but I made her come to a civic engagement on her birthday.
You love your dad. You're a wonderful daughter.
Yeah.
Should we sing happy birthday?
If you want to see her fun out.
You won't join your father in that.
No. And then my son Joe, who's a 6th grader, and then my sister Sarah is here, Sarah Rodriguez.
Awesome. We understand, it is a family commitment just to serve. I appreciate your support of his service, maybe before, but certainly here going forward. So nice to meet you all. All right. Next is another exciting presentation, introduction of 2 new Sherwood police officers.
Yes.
Chief?
Come on up. What do you want me to do this? Where do you want me to put them? Put them right here at the table?
It's your show,
I
Chief.
know, it's all weird. I don't know where to look. Have a seat.
Pull up another chair if you want, Chief, for you to stand.
I'm just gonna stand. I
Okay.
will talk into this momentarily. I want to introduce to you Bronson Ramos, who is seated here, and Brianna Woodward, who is to my left. Oh, gosh. So, real quick, this is
I
gonna
told you
be.
you really wanted a chair. but-
Give you a little history, 9-month process that we did. Thank you.
Thanks for the assist.
Last person we hired was in July of 2021, so last Wednesday, we hired our first, and then today we just swore in Brianna. And so now we are 2 in, and they are going to start the academy in September, the DPSST Academy. I will tell you, we have the opportunity to jump on board with Washington County's pre-academy for the next couple of months, so they'll get some extra training in before they head off, and then obviously FDEP. But I wanted to introduce them here to you and to the public and give them an opportunity to introduce themselves and tell you how they got here and their journey in their law enforcement career as it begins. I'll let you start.
All right, so hi everyone. Again, my name is Bronson Ramos. I was born and raised in Hawaii on the island of Oahu. I had a lot of influence growing up. My older cousin, who I'm very close with, served is still serving as a law enforcement officer on the island of Kauai. I came out here about 6 years ago for George Fox. Went to college there, played football there under Coach Casey, and I graduated in social work with an emphasis in criminal justice. And before this, I was working for TSA, and law enforcement was always the goal, and now I'm here today, and thank you for having me.
Awesome. Welcome. Yeah, welcome.
Hello, Brianna Woodward. I grew up in Salem, Oregon, and kind of worked a few jobs here and there, and I ended up working at First Tech in Beaverton. That's where I met Officer Garcia. And right before I left for the military, he had gone to Sherwood and always kept contact and told me about working in Sherwood because I wanted to be an officer before I joined the military. So I went into the Navy as Master at Arms doing law enforcement with the Navy. And I knew when I got out, that's what I wanted to do. So hit up my contact, said, let's go on Sherwood, said apply. So it was a long process, finally got in and the whole hiring. So we're here now. I'm excited. We started. So.
Awesome. Thank you for your service.
Yes.
Thank you.
Counselor Young, her husband Scott is retired Navy.
Oh, awesome.
So appreciate your service and welcome to a great department, great team. We know you're gonna do fantastic. Questions for them? Don't embarrass them too much, or you can. It's up to you.
I have one.
Yes, Renee.
So Bree, you said Officer Arturo was the one who brought you or encouraged you to Sherwood. What brought you to Sherwood from Officer Ramos?
Oh, me? Should I speak? Yeah. I still live in Newburgh, and as you know, like I said, I went to George Fox, so I was always kind of in Sherwood. Sherwood was always kind of like a second place that I was always going around and I'd hang out at the park. So we bring my dog to the dog park. I have a couple of friends that live here in Sherwood too. So that's pretty much what brought me here. Like I said, this is just a place that I know, not like the back of my hand, but I know this place and I'm aware of the community and how it is, and I love it too. So. Yeah.
And Bree, does it live up to its expectations so far?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Wonderful. Any other questions or?
Very excited to have you both aboard. So
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome aboard.
Appreciate it.
You're included in all the signs that say we love our Sherwood police. That now includes you. So
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time in your afternoon, or evening to let Ty introduce you to our community. And yeah, we're just thrilled you're on board.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Yep, thank you.
Great town for police. Or police department. Next, we want to recognize some recent Eagle Scout Award recipients. Is Dominic or Jacob here? We're still in the shadow of COVID, so we will just, we have 2 certificates of achievement, and I'll read them. First for Dominic Zangara. So on behalf of the city of Sherwood and the Sherwood City Council, we want to congratulate you on your outstanding achievement of attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. And it's an open invitation if you want to come to a future city council meeting to talk about your Eagle Scout project. We'd love to hear about it. You know, it is a big deal, significant thing. Takes a lot of work. So congratulations to Dominic. You know, your family is proud of you. We are proud of you, and yeah, open invitation. Additionally, I want to give a certificate of achievement to Jacob Moon on behalf of the city of Sherwood and the Sherwood City Council, as we congratulate you on your outstanding achievement of attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. So great job, Jacob. We're proud of you. We know your family's proud of you. And you also have an open invitation to come and talk about your Eagle Scout project. We'd love to hear about what you do if you're able to. Come on in. I would love to have you here. And we will get these certificates to those good students. Next on our agenda is 12th Fire and Rescue Annual State of the District. Please welcome Chief Weiss.
Good evening, Mayor May, City Councilors. How are you tonight?
We're doing great. We just introduced two new police officers, recognized a couple great young adults in our community, and got a new city councilor.
There's a lot going on.
And now to hear about our great fire district.
Yeah, well, I got to start with congratulating Chief Hanlon on his new job as a police chief here, and he's doing an excellent job already. My mom would be so proud of him since she taught him in elementary school. And if you want any information, I'd be happy to bring her in next time I do my presentation.
Wow, that would be great. We're back here in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. I could probably take something.
Bring a PowerPoint.
Yeah, right. Well, it is good to be here again and actually be here in person. And I think last time I was here was pre-COVID, and everything's defined pre or post-COVID anymore these days. But what we like to do is come before our cities and our counties that we work in and give a little update on what's kind of been going on in the last year, 2021 in this particular case. So if you don't mind, I'll go through this PowerPoint. Hopefully everything shows up just right. So meeting the challenge. I think the last year was filled with ice storms and more wildfires, heat waves, another year of the pandemic. And through all of that, we were committed to doing the same thing we always do, which is fast and effective emergency services. In the last year, we had challenges with staffing because of COVID positive employees, injuries, and then a lot of retirements. We have roughly 30 people that are retiring from the organization at the end of this June. And there's even more on the horizon in the future.
And what's your total headcount?
Total 658-ish, around in there, 450 something on the line. And this covers those numbers, that covers everything, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So I'll give you another stat here in a little bit. Spoiler alert, 38% of our leadership and command staff will be leaving in the next 5 years. And that's a lot. So you do 38% of 650, and there's a lot of education, training, succession plan that has to go on. It is always at the top of our list, and it will be for the next 5 years in succession. So it's hard to do. We did have a single role paramedic academy that went through the process, and they've graduated from the academy. We have another firefighter paramedic academy that should be graduating soon. There's 24 people on that one. And then we have an academy starting in August, and then we'll have an academy starting in February. And then we'll have an academy, 2 per year for the foreseeable future. That is just the turnover rate in our organization. The good news is that there still is a candidate pool out there. While there are less candidates overall, what we grab from that candidate pool remains about the same. So we get in that 100, 150 that we actually pull from the list, and that's who we do our interviews with. So that's the process that we just finished up. They're going through background checks, and those candidates will start in August. So we look forward to that. So opportunities to improve, and I don't think it'd be any good report card or year-ending statement if I didn't say that some of the challenges that we've had in this last year. I mentioned just a second ago, 38% of our managers and leaders will retire or can retire in the next 5 years. On your right-hand side is Captain Esparza. He is our first Latino captain. On the left is Captain Berger. She's our first female captain. After all of these years of trying to work to improve our equity and inclusion and diversity, we're finally starting to see some of the benefits from what we've been doing, our efforts for all those years. I can tell you that it started even before the previous chief was the fire chief. When you take a large organization and try to turn it and make it inclusive and welcoming, it takes a lot of time. It's always been my highest priority and will continue to be as long as I'm the fire chief for Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. Across the country, roughly 4% of career firefighters are female. Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, we have 7%. We have improvements to be made. Our standard is not a reflection of our community. Our standard is more in line with what is the industry standard. It's certainly aspirational to match the community. It's very challenging to do, and it will take time. We need the people to get in the positions so that other people can say, I can do that too. I see you and me, and I can do that. And we're just starting to see the benefits from all the work that we've done. So we'll continue to work hard. We have the fire camp for girls. If any of you have heard of that, we bring in 16 to 21-year-old girls, and they get a weekend at the training center. I know some of you have been at the training center before. And they get a weekend, they get to do the firefighting job, plus the EMS, all that stuff. And they get exposed to something that maybe they've never been exposed to before. And I think that's critical. That's the key. They have to see it to even think it's an opportunity for them. Metro Fire Camp for girls actually started with Portland. I think before that it was Seattle or higher up in the Northwest. Now we partnered with Portland, and then we're starting our own as well. So we have the camp will continue now that COVID and we're into the endemic. We'll be able to start that academy and get them back at the training center. I think you might ask, when's the next community academy? I've been asked before. It's very popular. It's been 2 years since we had a community academy. September is the latest thing I've heard. So I believe we'll have an opportunity for, I don't know, say new counselors to have a chance to get out and see exactly what it is we do in the fire stations and the fire service. So we're certainly looking forward to that. We can do more. I think that we have other ways we can recruit. We do have Spanish-speaking firefighters, and they help us out with our translation and our outreach, but we need to do more, and we can do more. And we recognize that. So that's the first key. We can do more. Let's try to do more, and we will. We'll do more outreach in our communities. Again, we have other means of doing that. We're trying new medias, if you will, for how do we spread the message of what it is that we do and what you can do to protect yourself. So we'll get those messages out in this coming year. Community services was also revamped a little bit this year, and we have more focus on community risk reduction, which can cover everything from wildfires to senior trip hazards. So that's an important part of any fire organization. And so we're happy to assign somebody new to be in charge of that program. We look forward to expanding it in the coming years. Odds and ends, we returned to our normal mode of operation March 1st. We gave staff about a month to get back into the offices and get back to work. We're not a place where you can really telecommute. I'm not talking about the fire stations. Obviously, they were staffed 24/7. But even our offices and our support services and our fire prevention's office, we are a business where we need to be there. We need to interact, engage, and connect. We could communicate the heck out of things the last 2 years, but we couldn't connect. And if you think about it, we lost the before the meeting, the during the meeting, and the after the meeting. And those are real things. And so those are opportunities to collaborate, get together, and make sure across the organization, we truly understand what everybody else is doing. Coming soon will be another public attitude survey. We do that about every 2 to 3 years. And that's an opportunity for our communities to let us know what's important to them. What do you want? What do you need? And then how do we get there? That's the hardest part sometimes. So we found great success in doing that and getting feedback. And so that will be coming out quite soon. I didn't mention this earlier, but we did pass our bond in November of last year. We are extremely grateful for the communities that we serve for voting that bond through. It's about $122 million. And some of the things that are important is obviously fire apparatus. We need new apparatus. It's not cheap, it's expensive. And so we need new apparatus to be updated, up to standard, and we'll have new apparatus in the purchase. We're also going to have new stations, and whether it's a station remodel or a complete tear down and rebuild, there's 10 of 29 stations that are going to get touched. Something is going to happen to those stations. Yours is one of them. So we're not quite sure exactly what's going to happen with the Sherwood station. There are some plans that say it might need to be redone to really work for 30 years past today. And then there's some that say maybe a remodel can do what we need to get done. My challenge with a lot of our stations that we've had is they're built for 30 years, sure, but they're not flexible. They're not welcoming. They're not invitive to everybody that we have in the fire service today. And it's very challenging to go back and fix something when it's brick and mortar and it's in the ground. Yeah,
So on that point, let's have a conversation.
please.
Not on that topic here, but away from the meeting, just
Oh,
a topic
yeah.
of the future of the Sherwood station.
We have some thoughts.
I love thoughts. I love ideas. I'm creative. You're creative. Let's have a conversation. I was thinking now, I was like, okay, we're switching. That's good.
We don't want to interrupt your flow too much to say, that's exciting. Let's just, so that we want you to be successful in our community. And let's just help give our 10 cents and have ideas, share ideas before you make decisions.
Sounds fantastic, Mayor. Yep, absolutely. The one thing that, I want to make sure I cover everything, safety upgrades to the training center. So those of you that have seen our training center, it's the same training center that I started at in 1991 when I was an intern. So it hasn't changed a whole lot. We need to do safety improvements on that upgrade. So that's a big piece of the bond. And then the last thing we have is land purchases. So we're constantly looking at, it's a regional fire agency. And so we have to look at where do you place these stations based on the data. If there's an opportunity to grab a piece of land that we can use at a future date, then we're doing the people that come after me a favor by getting that purchase ahead of time. So there is money for land purchases. And finance would hate it if I didn't say, and we are one of the few fire departments in the nation that has a AAA Moody rating. So we got fantastic rates and premiums. So that's a plus for sure for the taxpayers. So this is a sheet I show every year, and it's specific to Sherwood. So I don't know how much time you'd like me to spend on this, but I'll go through it just a little bit so you kind of understand what we do. The reason I think this is such an important document is because when we talk about siting stations, when we talk about where do apparatus go, when we talk about where do personnel go, it all comes right back to this kind of data right here. This is what we rely upon. So it drives our decisions. You'll notice right off the bat, lower right-hand corner where it says 2019, 2020, there was a dip. There was a dip when COVID started, then it slowly started coming back. We don't have real concrete data about why that is. We just think people were staying home. Our fear was that people were staying home and they were actually sick. That was our fear in 2020 and in 2021 as well. Doesn't seem to necessarily be the case, but call volume has steadily increased from that day. We will get back to normal rise of calls each and every year. There was 128 calls for fire in Sherwood. Only 22 of those were truly fires. As good as dispatch does at trying to find out what we're actually going to, we're going to miss every now and again. And sometimes we miss and it's a false alarm. So a lot of those where it says 128 is what they went on, 22 is what they found. Then you move over to the right, about 172 in that good intent type call, which is sometimes a catch-all when we're coding different types of calls, but it wasn't a true fire. Sherwood is like pretty much everywhere else where the call volume throughout the week is pretty predictable. It rises at about 8 a.m. and starts to go down when the sun goes down in the evening, and then it starts to pick back up again. And your city is like pretty much most of our cities where the call volume in terms of day of the week, it's about the same. It's about the same. So it stays steady that direction. And then the last thing on the right-hand side, this is for a quick look, and we want to kind of figure out where do our calls happen? What's going on in that spot? And then this allows staff to kind of dive down in. And I guarantee you the crew at Station 33 can tell you exactly what those orange dots are on this map.
Sure.
That's a frequent call. Yeah.
I mean, the vast majority of your calls in our community are to our senior community.
EMS. Yeah. EMS EMS calls. Continues to be the case, and I suspect it will be, which is why we're going to pivot to, and I'll talk about that in a slide or two. This is Station 54, which is in Charbonneau. It was completed in September of 2021. It's just outside of Charbonneau, right off of I-5 on Miley Road. We've been trying to find a station location for down there for years, and we finally found a spot.
So just collective pivot, we should in the future have our screen down.
Sorry.
This screen.
Yeah.
So this is a two-person station. It is a firefighter paramedic rescue. And I only point that out because we have two types of rigs like this in our service area. One is a rescue, one is a medic. A rescue has two firefighter paramedics on it. A medic has two paramedics on it. One of our programs at Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue is single role paramedics. We bring in paramedics that are working either right out of school or they're a private ambulance provider. We hire them as paramedics. That fits in their job description. And then after a couple of years, they get to promote to firefighter paramedic within the organization. We have had amazing success bringing paramedics in and moving them on. And the pool of candidates that are in single role paramedic category is far more diverse than other categories where we draw from. So this is a fantastic way to improve our diversity in the organization. This particular unit can transport transport patients to the hospital. It's also part of the greater EMS system that is Clackamas County moving in to Yamhill County. You may find this particular rescue in your city a lot. They move through here and stop a lot. And that's as they go back and forth into Newburgh and out of Newburgh and then off to hospitals in the Clackamas County area. So it's an added resource to the entire system. And I mentioned a little bit about the EMS system and the challenges that we have today and the calls for service, because it does continue to be 70, 80% of our call volume is EMS. So does everybody that calls 911 need to go to the hospital? Are there ways that we can intervene as a fire agency where others can't? And I think what we've recognized, along with a lot of other people across the country in the EMS world, is that the EMS system needs to be improved. We can do better than we do right now. So this is the SHARM pilot program. It's the Community Health and Resource Management pilot program. It's going on right now in Washington County. And this is specifically targeting people that frequently use 911. Oftentimes what we find is they just need an answer. They just have a question. They're having trouble with their medication. They're needing another type of resource. If we can put a paramedic there and they can answer the questions and help them, they don't have to call 911. Heavy assets stay in the stations and the ambulances aren't transporting to the hospital. That's been a huge impact on the system during COVID and actually since the endemic has begun. So this is a program that utilizes our cars. So we have engines, trucks, rescues, medics, cars, and now a SHARM program. And I know it looks like CHARM, but there's somebody in my EMS office that her name starts with SHARM, and I'm thinking they named it after her. I'm not totally positive, but they call it SHARM, so we'll go along with it. We're going to do this for about a year, I believe, and then we're going to see how it works and can we add more to the system. That will be my goal. Find other ways to add to the system to take the load off the heavy assets. Heavy assets are absolutely important. And it wouldn't be a presentation without wildfire. So wildfire has been extremely busy since the 800-acre plus fire on Chehalem Bald Peak Mountain. We're absolutely aware that this can happen in our backyard around here now. I think the communities are aware that it can happen here in their own backyards. We had good success on that fire. And I will tell you, crews worked extremely hard. We had resources because we're regional. We had a lot of resources. We could shift to that area, get a quick early attack. But I will tell you, topography, wind, fuel conditions, all these things trump however much effort my crews can put into fighting a fire. So you could say we got lucky or we're good. I don't know, but I do know that we did an after action assessment of this particular fire, and we found things that we need to improve on. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. We also helped with the passage of Senate Bill 762, which is fuel mitigation in the urban interface areas. One of our chiefs is a part of the Governor's Fire Service Policy Council. So we're active in that, trying to make sure that we have legislation and code that's appropriate to protect lives and homes in our service area and around the state. So we're super proud of that. But what this means to you and me is that we get firefighters at 12 Valley Fire and Rescue that are adequately trained, adequately equipped, and ready to respond to wildfires, which we only have about 60 people that do this all the time. They go to California, they go to Eastern Oregon, they go elsewhere. They are highly trained in wildland firefighting. The gap is the rest of us now. And so we have concentrated efforts, almost like succession planning, is how to train them up so that they're ready to go. So there's little things too, how to replace crews on a fire line. That was part of it. The overall command structure, how do we do there? We critiqued everything. We've already changed several things, but we have more work to do in the wildland environment. And I think it's important, especially to this community. And then I mentioned we're always looking for new ways to get out and send our message and interact with the communities. We've always had Safety Matters, which is something that you would see in the mail. And now we have Safety First, which is a different media, an online media version that can go out, interactive. You can click, touch, anything from trip hazards to winter hazards to wildfire hazards, things that will help you, and it is interactive. So we can't wait for this to be fully rolled out in the coming months. I probably missed a ton of things, but in the interest of time,
I had to
open up
take a
for
picture of that
questions.
last slide.
Oh, do you want to go back?
Well, no, just Patrick,
Oh, do you know?
a friend of mine.
Is he? I just saw him the other day. He's doing good. He's happy to be back. With that, that concludes my presentation for this year. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks for taking the time to come out to us in person and give us the presentation. Great to see you. Questions for the chief?
I would love to ask how you advertise the young women's camp. I'd never heard of that before, and I have two young women in my family, so I'd love to know how you advertise that.
Yeah, well, it's on our website is where
Okay.
you can find it. I don't know if it's there yet because I don't know if they've even set the date this year. Social media is also a big way to find that. And if you search for Fire Camp for Girls, you can help. I can have public affairs reach out and even give you a link so you can get exactly what you need.
Well, frankly, I know we're doing some programs at the new high school there to get people interested in, in trades and different career opportunities. And so I wonder if there's an opportunity to partner with the school there and get the word out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. When I saw it this last, or I guess it was 2 years ago, most schools in the metro area were represented. So
That's great.
it's a good
Really
thing.
good.
Oh, and I didn't mention, there's actually been graduates from that are now working in the fire service in the Northwest. And we don't have one yet. I'm waiting, but I think we're getting close. So it takes time.
Yeah, the exposure to young folks, that's great. Like I said, didn't consider it an option, so that's awesome. More questions, comments?
I don't have a question, but I would highly recommend that. Is it the Citizen Fire Academy? Is that what you call it?
Community Academy.
Community Academy. I would highly recommend it.
Got it marked.
Counselor Scott,
It is the best thing
yes,
ever.
you would enjoy it.
Thank you for
You're
that.
gonna drive the fire truck.
I'm in. I'm in.
All right, well, thank you so much, Chief.
Thank you very
And then we'll follow up afterwards, talk about ideas.
Absolutely.
It's
Anytime.
all good stuff.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next on our list of presentations, couple of proclamations. First, I want to say we're going to proclaim April 3rd to April 9th as National Library Week. And we'll briefly cover the very nice long proclamation. Libraries are accessible and inclusive places that foster a sense of connection and build a community. Libraries connect people to technology, provide access to broadband internet, computers, and training that are critical for accessing education and employment opportunities. Libraries offer opportunities for everyone to connect with new ideas, become their best selves through access to multimedia content, programs and classes, and of course, books. Today's libraries and their services extend far beyond the four walls of a building, and everyone is welcome to use their resources. In times of crisis, libraries and library professionals play an invaluable role in supporting their communities, both in person and virtually. We certainly saw that these last 2 years. Libraries strive to develop and maintain programs and collections that are diverse as their populations they serve and ensure equity of access for all. Our libraries adapt to our changing world and are expanding their resources, continuing to meet the needs of their patrons. Our libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, socioeconomic status. Libraries are cornerstones of democracy, promoting free exchange of information and ideas for all. Libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate this National Library Week. So again, Mayor Keith Mays proclaimed National Library Week of April 3rd to 9th, 2022. Encourage all residents to connect with their library by visiting online or in person to access resources and services that are available for free. Of course, supported by taxpayers. Also want to proclaim April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day. In 1872 was the first Arbor Day that was observed in Nebraska, with the planting of more than 1 million trees. Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. The state of Oregon has decreed that the first full week of April is designated as Arbor Week. The city of Sherwood has been a tree city USA since 2005. The city is committed to urban forestry as a partner as a partner in Clean Water Services Tree for All campaign, a collaborative effort to plant native trees and shrubs on the Tuolumne River Basin. Sherwood is committed to partnering with local schools to teach students that trees properly planted and cared for are a source of community environment that assists in mental and peaceful renewal and provides many comforts such as shade, clean air, beauty, and increasing property values. Having beautiful trees planted in our community is important for our citizens. So I, Keith Mays, Mayor of Sherwood, do hereby proclaim April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day. Awesome. Next on our agenda is new business. We have one item for new business. Resolution 2022-021, adopting the city council pillars, goals, and deliverables for fiscal year 22-23. Keith Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Mays and council. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you tonight. Before you is resolution 2022-2021, which is to adopt what we're calling the pillars, goals, and deliverables for fiscal year 2022-2023. As a background, on February 5th, 2022, the Sherwood City Council held a special meeting to review and discuss current goals and activities and to look to develop upcoming activities for our next fiscal year. The city contracted with SGR, Strategic Government Resources, and Dr. Mike Mallory, who led the facilitation of that discussion. As part of the staff report, Exhibit A is the work product that SGR produced as a result of that work session. Using that guidepost, the city staff worked to look to enhance and hopefully improve what we're going to recommend tonight in terms of our goals and objectives for the next fiscal year. We define this as Sherwood City Council fiscal year 2022-23 pillars, goals, and deliverables. So I just want to go through some of the things that we had done and changed, which is to identify what we said is for pillars, which are the 6 fundamental values, if you will, that we have, identified goals under each of those pillars, and then included deliverables under each of those action items. We use the SGR document as the foundation for all of this. I do want to note that in a few examples, they're in italics, the city staff did include new goals that we felt fit within the frameworks of the pillars and the goals that were identified. The other thing that we did to change this year was to put deliverable timeframes on there from 0 to 1, 2 to 3, and then 3+ years and beyond. These are recommendations from city staff. This is a collaborative process. These are your goals. So I'm bringing this to you as a new business tonight because I wanted to have a discussion and to see what your thoughts were and if there's any changes are recommended so we can move forward and adopt Exhibit B of this. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Keith. I appreciate the new format that came about with the pillars, goals, deliverables. I think it's very clear. I think it's good for staff. I think it's good for council. Most importantly, it's good for the community to see. So a lot of praise for everyone's efforts there. I actually like everything about it. My quick negative feedback. the goal document, whenever it's approved, it's valid when the day it's adopted. Just for clarity, it's again that it's designed to be a living, flexible document, and things change. For any hope, pick a reason. Things change. Things speed up, accelerate, slow down, get added or deleted based on the circumstance. But on pillar 3, on a deliverable 4 and deliverable 6, I would think it should probably fit in the 0 to 1 as well as the 2 to 3 time window. I think we should be able to get some city art, in the next year instead of in 2 to 3 years. And I think we already have an art fund because we had it in last year's budget. So we've got it somewhere. We might need to put some nuance around it, but I think that's already in place. And then a question, I'm assuming, but I don't want to assume unless I highlight it, that pillar 6, that when it comes to surveys, that the expectation is we will be doing annual surveys.
This is a discussion the council had and wanted to do, and something I would recommend. It's nice to start getting data and feedback you can use over time, standardized questions that remain constant, but also new questions that the council may have in terms of getting feedback from the community. So I think those are wonderful assets and tools, and I think that would be the intent.
If I could just add on that, I think there's kind of the traditional old school way of doing surveys where you hire a consulting firm and you have a bunch of meetings and they charge you a lot of money and they go out and do the surveys. It'd be great if we looked at, there are a lot of great new tools, cloud-based tools out there for doing surveys, doing ad hoc surveys, and, not just an annual survey, but, potentially on other topics that are coming up in the year that we can quickly get surveys out and see what the community's thinking.
Yeah, and I think deliverable 6.3 is right along the lines of what you're looking for there. Utilize modern communication tools, mobile surveys, text messages, solicit feedback from residents is kind of along that idea. Being creative.
Yeah, that whole world's changed. Lots of neat stuff out there.
In fact, even ad spend, right? And saying, on Facebook, you can do surveys that are targeted at certain locales versus micro surveys, kind of a thing. So, not just the ones mentioned, but.
Yeah, absolutely. Other thoughts, comments from this attachment? Sean, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I like the format of this. Like you said, I like having targeted dates and deliverables coming. As a project manager, that's the way my mind thinks. And I know that we've kind of talked about this in the past on not just creating goals, but putting timelines on those. So we, not only helps us to understand and prioritize those goals, but I think it also helps staff understand our expectations and gives them something to work to. And it also helps our citizens understand that this is what's important to us. So I do like this new format. I don't really have any suggested changes or anything to this. I just think it's a great document, and I'm hoping that I see a lot of 0 to 1 on here. That's aggressive, I think. But ambitious maybe is a better word. But I certainly love the idea that we're going to work towards those, and look forward to supporting this.
Thanks, Sean. Other comments or questions from councilors? Renee?
I love the document. I think you all did a great job of putting it together. I am thrilled that staff had the opportunity to weigh in, and am confident that because of that teamwork and working with staff, that we will probably see even more done than what's been done in the past because of their buy-in. And thank you for having them involved in the process. I love number 6, and specifically deliverable 610. And I hope that can be elevated even a little bit more, which is considering the youth advisory committee or something similar, specifically with all that's going on in downtown Sherwood with the youth hanging out.
I'll second that.
Some of that motion. So I really am hoping that project alone could be elevated. But again, kudos and great job.
Thanks, Renee. Any other comments? Commissioner West.
No, I think, this is a great start. Obviously, I'm looking forward to seeing regular progress reports on all the things throughout the year. So, thank you. I just want to amplify what Renee said about the youth advisory committee. I think that would be a great addition. When we originally proposed that, when we added the as senior committee, and we decided to wait because of staff time and stuff like that. So I'd love to see that as a consideration this year. If the city council agrees.
It's on the list.
But I just in terms of reporting too, we all know that things happen during the year, plans change. So I think regular updates on where you're at with us. So if you do need us to weigh in on priorities and stuff throughout the years, we just know things happen during the year and plans change. So just keeping us informed so we can help with that would be great.
Yeah, I like the mayor's comment of the living, breathing document, right? And so communication going forward and just, Councilor Scott, the same type of thing is regular updates, even just behind the scenes, but publicly as well, just so the public can understand what we've been accomplishing and what we're doing. So that's definitely the progress of this. I'd like to see this document continue to be expanded and improved. I think it's a really great first step. I know there's some improvements we can make, but we'll get there. So.
Taylor?
Yeah, I would love to have it, in the spirit of it being a living, breathing document, I would love to have it be a marketing effort as well to help communicate to the citizens. I know that's been a long time challenge is sometimes, when things are going well, everybody just, kind of lets things happen. So I would love to encourage any kind of a standing website or something, it's the state of the city or, here are the deliverable, here's what we're shooting for. I mean, the messaging has to be right, but I love that idea of keeping it kind of in front of our faces so that we don't come back here in a year's time and go, oh yeah, those were the goals. So I know that's sometimes how these go. And so I love that idea of having them be living, breathing, and reviewed often by the citizens as well as by us. So thanks.
Great comment for your first day.
Yeah, I'm a marketer and a product guy at heart. I know about messaging.
So the only change I'd propose is a motion to adjust 3.4 and 3.6 to cover both the green and yellow time brackets, which is the 0 to 1 year and the 2 to 3 years. So that's a motion.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to modify the goal document pillar 3.4 and 3.6, just for the deliverable time frame to touch upon both 0 to 1 year and 2 to 3 years. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have an amended exhibit to a resolution. Any more discussion on the proposed resolution and the amended exhibit? Or a motion?
I make a motion to accept the amended resolution 2022-021, adopting city council pillars, goals, and deliverables for fiscal year 2022-23.
Thank you, Renee and Doug. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving resolution 2022-021, adopting city council pillars, goals, and deliverables for fiscal year 2022-23, as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Thank you, Keith. Guess I'm going back to the page of the city manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I'll just use the time to thank the council for the trust and faith in making a change, and also just a sincere thank you to the senior leadership team who were engaged and involved and really helped make that document what it was. So just it's interesting out there, and I can't see them on the TV, but I will say thank you for.
They're all hiding in the shadow of the TV.
Their hard work faces. No. So, yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have nothing else. But happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Keith. Questions for Keith or his team? Just so folks know, Keith is from Kansas originally. If anybody is watching local sports in the last few days, he's a graduate of Kansas. He got some degree there at some point in his life. He's a fan of that school still for some reason. And they managed to win the men's college basketball championship last night. So it's all right to be happy. And congratulations. Thankfully, they did not play Oregon State or Oregon, otherwise they would have been thrown out of the tournament. Well, that's great. And no questions for Keith. We're making it easy, but that's all right. Council announcements. Anyone want to say anything? Talk about something that they've been involved in the last couple of weeks. No obligation. It's great. We've added 2 more members of the planning commission. That's exciting. Good folks. The planning commission lost a planning commissioner because he's now on city council, so we now have a vacancy on planning commission. So if folks want to apply, please do. Yeah.
So between last meeting and today, a couple things happened. I testified in front of SDLC. For those out in the community that aren't aware, Salem is doing some new rulemaking exercises that would significantly limit our ability to regulate or impose minimum parking requirements in new developments, especially in commercial areas. And they're also regulating our street width standards and really forcing us in residential areas down to 28-foot street width. So testified on that and multiple other issues related to that in terms of their process and stuff. Sherwood and a bunch of other cities in the region are asking the state to slow down, spend some more time working with cities on reasonable solutions that allow us to manage parking and streets and transportation in a way that's compatible with our community. So hopefully we'll get some results out of that. There's a lot of cities at that meeting testifying against that rulemaking process. We'll see what happens.
Like all the cities that testified,
Yeah, it was
in opposition.
pretty overwhelming when it came to that. I did a ride along with Officer Christensen on Sunday night. That was very informative and a lot of fun. I can't say enough of the work that our police officers do. Jason was great. And just watching that work and how they approach their job, their sensitivity and compassion for the people that they're working with is just amazing to watch. And I just can't say enough. I can't go into details on some of the calls, but I wish I could, because there's some pretty amazing things that happened. It was just amazing. So thank you, Chief, for letting me do that. I know I've already told you this, but pass my thanks along to Jason again. So.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for coming out. And the offer is extended to you as well.
Fantastic. Sign me up.
Yeah, still need to get mine too.
Oh, yeah. Highly recommend it. That was my third. And probably the funnest one I've been on so far. So, and then
You stayed out all night. Wow.
8 to 3 in the morning. Yeah. Monday morning was rough. So, and then the last thing I'll just mention is we had our first LSC telecom committee with the LSC in preparation for the 2023 legislative session. Again, for those in the audience and on YouTube that are watching, League of Oregon Cities lobbies on behalf of cities in Salem when they're in session. And so this committee's job is to come up with policy recommendations that we're going to lobby the state on. So we started with that process, and I have a finance and tax meeting on Friday coming up, or Thursday. So anyways, that's all I got.
Excellent. And Tim reminded me, big shout out to our community development team, Julia and her team, for helping with my letter to GLCD on that topic.
Yes.
It was lengthy, thorough, very well done. I greatly appreciate it. Other announcements? Well, we'll keep it fairly short, bring it down under an hour. Other than, we're gonna adjourn the city council meeting, and convene an executive session